Me gusta hablar en español, pero muito malo, so tengo que hablar en inglés. Okay. Listo? So I can't start my presentation without giving a big shout out for the Women's today, for the International Women's Day. Thank you so much. As I like to say, the women will conquer the world, but they haven't decided the clothes and the shoes yet, so it will come soon. Well, I really appreciate everyone. I know the agenda here for PRF is crazy, and taking the time to be here, it's really proud of, for me to have you guys all here. And this subject of naturally decaf Arabica, it's been quite a hot spot. And today, for the first time, we're gonna review some information here about that research and how is it going. Before that, let's talk about some topics here. As a Brazilian citizen, for me, it's really heartbreaking seeing the drought of the rivers in Amazon, which is being impacted by the global warming. That's a reality, it's there. And we all part of this. And for sure, coffee production is some of the factor that's affecting this global warming. And we, as a farmer in Brazil, we depend of that they call the flying rivers that bring the rain, and most of them come from the Amazon. And we depend of Health Amazon to do coffee farming. And I am also very concerned about the climate change. And today here at the PRF, I would like to present a solution something that be part of the solution for the future of global warming. So before we just jump into the big news or the project, I'm involved with a scientist team in Brazil in this research. I just would like to present some numbers for decaf globally. We're talking today about 200 million cups of decaf served around the world. Do we have any decaf coffee lovers here on the stage today, besides me? Okay, just a few. I hope I can change that by the end of my presentation. We're gonna be more hands up. So researchers point that a cup of coffee will leave in the atmosphere 0.4 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. Oh, that gives us a little bit over 0.03 gigaton of CO2. I'm just putting this gigaton here as a reference. Scientists of the global warming saying that the global warming is caused by an extra gas on the atmosphere in order of 35 to 50 gigatons of CO2 on the atmosphere. That's what's causing the global warming. So decaf coffee is potentially contributing for 0.06% only. It doesn't sound big, but everything is a contribution for the global warming. So also part of the global market of decaf, we consider 88% of a green coffee moving around the world as a decaf, which represent about over 46,000 containers of decaf. Why I mentioned that? If we're just gonna talk about transportation, the numbers might be alarming. Just extra shipment of 14 million bags. And that's not an activist speech against the decaf process. I have a really deeply respect about the fellow industry that do a decaf. But we're gonna talk about a solution that can help the world to be a better word on this global warming, right? Uno más. So the solution for this decaf CO2 emission. It's coming from IAC, which is an institute in Brazil that has been playing a really big, important role in the coffee industry on the last century. IAC has been research coffee varieties, and some of the remarkable results of IAC on the last few years, we can consider like Mundo Novo and Catuai variety that was developed there is one of the most utilized variety in Brazil. And the new species that we're gonna, not the species, but a cultivar, sorry, in Brazil that's presenting a potential caffeine-free. Among 68 new cultivars that IAC has been developed, they consider like 90% of the coffee plants in Brazil has been developed in IAC. And a little bit, like 70% of the global coffee plants somehow was developed at IAC in Brazil. So, again, coming back to the women's, Maria Bernadette, a woman scientist in Brazil, has been for over 25 years exploring the potential to present a variety of coffee that present low or free caffeine. Alongside with Luis Carlos and Paulo Massafera, they found something that might be very interesting for the future, and they name it AC1, AC2, AC3, the new cultivars, after Alcides Carvalho, which is one of the most pioneer in Brazil, that inside of IAC on the early 1900s, start the Coffee Institute in Brazil. And then it was one of the biggest scientists for coffee along the years. So, how everything started. So, Maria Bernadette started with the germoplasma bank in the IAC that today they currently carry about 15 species, which we consider two of them, the conilon or canephora, and the Arabica, wush wush, and name it, a lot of them that doesn't come on top of my mind right now. But she started doing, excuse me, she started doing a natural crossbreeding of those plants. From 3,000 plants, she came for 3 new cultivars that presenting a high potential of a decaf. And then in 2011, she did the registration of those variety. And guess what? So a decaf plant now is really a reality, and then it's growing in Brazil. And then I'm gonna show you some results of that research. When we coming to talk about innovation, I would say history has been made, and then we set it to change the course of the decaf in the world. So this new variety presenting a caffeine-free that is growing coffee is not only a sustainable plant, but in terms of economical part and the financial side of this project, is gonna be huge. If you're just thinking about like cutting off some of the steps and the extra transportation of almost 50,000 containers of coffee to be decaf, going from origin to plants to decaf and then to the roaster, it's huge saving for the planet. I also can't skip a very important step to talk about this project. We're not talking about a coding, a DNA alteration. We're not talking about GMO. We're talking about 100% naturally plant-producing coffee, decaffeinated. So this is something that hasn't been showed before yet. The IAC allowed me to show some of the numbers and data from the research from since 2017 to last year. The cultivar, they are experimental fields in Brazil, in São Paulo and Minas Gerais state, that they are cultivating this new cultivar. And remember those three, AC1, AC2, and AC3, they have their own variation inside of them. That's why we have some of the difference on the results here that I'm gonna explain. But total, we're talking about 12 different varieties inside of the AC1, AC2, and AC3 that we are researching to find the best plant with the best resistance, best productivity, and of course, the most important, the level of caffeine. As we know here, to be considered a decaf coffee, commercially speaking, the concentration of caffeine on the coffee needs to be under 0.1%. Just for reference here, Arabicas present between 1.5 to 2%, and then the Robusta come to play an important role, up to 5% sometimes. So a decaf is considered when after decaffeination process, they remove 99.9% of the caffeine. But according to a Brazilian, Embrapa is an institute that helps a lot with the coffee there. They show from last year the average production in Brazil for Arabica. In a normal density, we're talking about 4,000 plants per hectares. And an average production of almost 30 bags per hectare. So the results that the IAC is capturing on these varieties, and then I'm talking here, IAC is not doing a big effort on the farming to produce a special coffee yet. They just planting and doing a standard cultivation with the coffee just to get the results off of the plant. So the productivity has been showing that 25 to 67 bags per hectare. That is some of the plants that are producing 67 bags per hectare. That's almost Robusta production. Caffeine has present as low as 0.01. That's a 99.99% free of caffeine. It's 10 times lower than the minimum required for decaf coffee. And besides a farmer, important, I'm a roaster as well. That's the most interesting result for me is the sensorial. So we have some specialists inside of the institute, the Q grader, they pretty much know how to cup. And then is presenting up to 85 according to the SCA standard, the score for decaf. So if we're looking for a high quality decaf, we got it. It's different from, the chemical decaf we are seeing on the market recently. Let's a little bit about the phases we are right now. So the phase we are from now to 2030 is to finalize the research, capturing more experimental fields in Brazil, and collect the data to see the consistency and the performance of each plant along those years, just to make sure that the caffeine will be consistent on that level, production, resistant of disease, because as we know, caffeine is one of the mechanisms of the coffee tree to protect the plant against disease. So that's a very delicate topic when you remove the caffeine from the plant. So after that plant, and we have a fully approval from the government on this species that's coming up, we're gonna start the commercial seedling in the large scale. That plant is not produced by the seeds, but we have to do they call, it's pretty much like clone. You got a plant, and then you reproduce another plant throughout of that. They call embryogenesis somatic. But again, it's not anything related with a genetic alteration, okay? And then the final phase that we are targeting after 2030, up to 2033, is the large-scale production. So again, I would like to remind you guys that before everything, I am a farmer, along with Mauricio, my business partner in the United States. So we are very happy to be participating. And as we speak here, we are also supporting financially the team in Brazil to make this research happen. And then I'm also glad that our name is going to be printed on the birth certificate of this research. That's really proud for us. And to talk about an Arabica plant with less than 1% caffeine in the world, that's going to help us to save a lot of money, a lot of carbon emission. It's incredible. It's a reality. So, but I don't need to be alone on that, and that's why I'm here today. In the near future, myself and some partners on this project, we will be serving a delicious, naturally decaf with a high quality, and on top of everything, the most environmental friendly decaf. So that's the part that we can dream together. Excuse me, I have to have some water here because I can't talk anymore. For the whole process of producing a new commercial cultivar existing, the goal is to have the commercial variety ready by 2030 to be produced in a large scale. So my intention here today is just to open up for you the potential that we are having in our hands for the near future to support the planet and to reduce emissions and, of course, try to annihilate the global warming as we speak. So, and this is my invitation for you guys. Let's do something today that we can change the future. Let's do something better for the world, and let's drink some better decaf coffee. May I ask, do we have any decaf coffee lovers here now on this stage? Same people, a little bit more. I would like to appreciate the time of everyone. Muito obrigado, muitas gracias.